All right, man. So we're already recording. Zoom already has us recording. So if it's okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and get started.
Beautiful.
Awesome. So yeah, man, thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate you. You know, we know each other. We've done deals together, so it's a pleasure to get you on here. For those who may not know you, man, just tell people who you are.
Yeah, so I'm an investor and wholesaler in Parkersburg, West Virginia. Done probably 90% of my deals here locally. Do a little bit in Marietta as well. But sell a lot of properties on wraps. So we'll close on them with seller finance, some bank financing, and sell them back out to someone, wanting to live in them, higher interest rate, higher monthly payment, all that. And then flip and wholesale as I find opportunities.
That's awesome. So when you say, I haven't had a lot of people on here that, that maybe one or two people that's done creative. So when you say rap, you know, like what are you doing? Are you like spitting bars? Are you rapping to people and doing hip hop, Bobby? What is a rap?
You are wrapping your financing. So I'll just give you an example. So a lot of times I'll go to a seller, look at a house, whatever, say, hey, I can offer you 30,000 cash for this. And they'll come back and say, oh, I can't do 30,000 cash. I would never come under 50,000 for it. Well, I know the house is probably worth 50, that's a good price for it, but I can't, assign it at that price. It doesn't really make sense as a flip at that price. So instead of countering and trying to come back into, maybe get it for 40 or 45 and try to make a 5 or 10 grand fee or something, I'll come back and say, okay, I'll give you that 50,000, but will you sell it on terms? Which can kind of start the conversation of, what exactly is that? So most sellers aren't really, at least around here, aren't really concerned with interest rate or anything like that. The two things they're worried about is, okay, how much are you going to pay me per month if you buy it for 50,000? And are you giving me the full price? How much am I getting per month? And how many years will it take to be paid off in full? So the negotiation now becomes how much am I giving you a month? Am I giving you that full price? Are you wanting a down payment? Stuff like that, which a lot of sellers just don't care about the down payment. Um, so I'm buying these on a 0% interest loan. The seller's only concerned with, hey, how much am I getting per month? So as long as that number fits what they're looking for and they're happy with it and they get out from under this house, then it works out great for them. I'll go in, clean it out, paint it, get it looking better, make sure utilities are safe, all that kind of stuff. Turn around, sell that to someone who wants to live in the house, charge, 9% interest, collect a down payment to recoup anything I had, putting into the property is the goal. And then you can get a spread 300, 400 a month. I mean, up to, whatever you can negotiate on that.
Wow. So yeah, that's a little advanced compared to just, assigning a contract, right? Uh,
Yeah.
when you first got started, were you just primarily, assigning contracts, or were you also doing things like this as well, or did that gradually come along?
First deal I bought was seller financing. I didn't even know what
Wow.
wholesaling was when I started.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
pretty cool. So how did you find out about wholesaling and assigning?
So I started out, the thing was like, oh, I'm going to buy a bunch of rentals. I'm going to own hundreds of units and I'll have monthly cash flow and I won't have to work for it every month kind of thing. And to anyone who has owned rentals, you figure out pretty quickly, the cash flow you're making off rentals is not money you're living on.
Yeah.
You're making money in rentals by the appreciation, by the loan pay down, by the tax benefit. So I realized pretty quick I got up to like 17 units or something. I was like, this is not what I'm looking for. I could be wholesaling, and making way more. But anyways, bought my first rental, seller financing, fixed it up, rented it, everything went good. I'm reading a book from Bigger Pockets on how to find more deals, and I read in there it's like connect with wholesalers. And I'm like, what is a wholesaler? So I start Googling, looking it up. And it's like, okay, someone who finds deals and then sells them to investors and makes a fee doing that. So I'm like, man, that sounds a lot better than trying to purchase these properties for cash. I can just wholesale properties, take that money I'm making from wholesaling, because I'm reading on there, you don't have to own these things. And then once I have enough money saved up, I can just buy a rental property and then wholesale till I have enough money, then buy a rental property. Um, So I go out on an appointment to look at a house probably 2 weeks after this. And I go and I'm looking at this house and I'm talking to the guy, super nice guy. And he's kind of talking like he's not the owner. And I'm looking at their website and they've got a couple properties listed on there. And I'm like, what's going on with this house? I'm like, I mean, are you wholesaling it? He's like, yeah, yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing. And so I made a friendship with that guy. And we were business partners there for, a year and a half, 2 years. We still work together and do deals now. Um, and later on that week, I find a lead off of Facebook. I go and look at the house. I negotiate to buy it for 6,500 bucks, and I'm just planning like, hey, I'll just close on it for cash, turn it into a rental. So I call that guy first. His name is Josh. I say, hey man, I got this house under, which I didn't know you're supposed to sign a contract with sellers, but we just had a verbal agreement that I would buy it. I said, hey, I've got this house under contract for 6,500. I'm like, do you think I could wholesale this? And he's like, "Oh yeah, 100% you could wholesale it." He said, "If you list that for 15,000, that'll be gone by the end of the week." I'm like, "Oh, well that sounds a whole lot better than trying to figure out how to fix this thing up." you know. So I listed it, had like probably 25 to 30 people show up at the same time there for an open house. And then, I didn't know what I was doing. So the first guy that showed up was a friend of mine, and I let him negotiate me down off the price. So I ended up taking like 11,500 for it because I was like, oh my gosh, if I can make $5,000 on a house I don't own,
Yeah.
like for 2 hours of work, I was like, man, this is insane.
Yeah.
So yeah, made a 5 grand assignment fee, and I don't think I've ever been as happy to make an assignment fee since that one.
Yeah, that first one that it always does something to your mind, no matter how much money it is, it changes things, Uh
Yeah.
so for you being in West Virginia, you're in a smaller market, you're not in this, there's not a lot of competition. So in our markets, here in West Virginia, it's a lot easier to get a contract than it is to find the buyer, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So what have you done as far as assignment wise to find buyers? Like, what is your strategy?
I basically nowadays I don't even make offers on properties here locally with the plan to assign them because I just feel, it's so difficult to find buyers consistently
Yeah,
that I would rather just make the offer with the plan of me myself being the buyer.
sure.
So with that, I'm making sure there's plenty of spread that I can't lose on the deal. And then once I, close on it, I'll either just wholesale it, just put it on the MLS or do what you taught me, list it with Joe R. Pile, put it on auction, and then, we've obviously had good success with that. Um, so I'll do one of those two things. Now, I will still assign properties, but it's like, hey, I got it under contract for this great price. I'll shoot it out to maybe 3 or 5 buyers that I know are serious, that I trust, and say, look, I'll, wholesale it to you for this price. It's not negotiable. If you don't buy it, it's going on the market next week.
Yeah,
So,
nice, nice.
yeah.
Yeah, it is a lot harder to assign here. I know that you've done some deals in Marietta, you've dipped into Columbus some, you've dipped into North Carolina. Where does that stand for you today? Do you want to stay in West Virginia with this? Do you want to expand? Where are you at now?
Yeah, so right now I'm focused on wholesaling in North Carolina. So been going direct to agent. I had been doing direct to seller marketing there in the Winston-Salem area, and it's competitive, man. It's expensive to get a deal. So learned some lessons on that. I think got one closing this week, so get up to like 7 or 8 assignments there after this week.
Nice.
Um, but here lately, I've just been calling agents there very consistently, 4 hours a day on market, making offers, and it is producing very good leads. So we'll see how that shakes out in the long term. But I've transitioned into the local area. I don't want to quit buying here. I love my area. I want to fix up these properties. I want to be able to help people buy houses. And I just love selling properties on seller financing.
Yeah,
The buyers are thankful for the opportunity. There's so many people that do it wrong and take advantage of buyers that
yeah,
I feel like it's kind of, my obligation to provide that opportunity for people here. But what I'm not going to try to do is scale it.
yeah,
So do one, two deals a month, enough to keep the people I got working for me and, with constant work, keep them paid, put out a really good product, and provide just a really good service here just to build like long-term wealth with these investments without a lot of management. That's probably my favorite part about it versus a rental.
Love it, man. That's awesome. That's really, I'm proud of you, man. I'm really happy that, you're continuing to grow. It's funny what you said about North Carolina because I'm actually calling North Carolina for land right now. And,
Hmm.
I can call here locally, and people were like, "Who are you? I've never got a call like this before." And then literally down there, it's like I get 5 calls a day like this.
Yeah.
It's so much more competitive. But one thing
Yeah.
I will say is a lot of people who are like having people cold call, they're using cold calling agencies, and a lot of these people are like from another country. So
Hmm.
when I call them, it kind of like they want to talk to me. They want to find out more because I'm from here, from America, It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Um, so let's go into the agent outreach a little bit, Bobby. I know this is new for you. I know you've been into it. So how are you frameworking that conversation? Are you letting them know you're a wholesaler or?
So I am probably the worst person to talk to about it because I haven't even closed the deal going direct to agent yet. We've got one under contract, but the agent had turned out to just been lying to us about the foundation.
Uh,
Um, but yeah, I just use Jerry Norton scripts. He's got like a 5-step process for talking to agents, just calling every single on market and making an offer, no matter how low it is or how far below list price. Um, and I'm really doing that with, I mean, if it turns into a deal, great, but I'm not really expecting it, with the on market.
yeah.
But it's about building that relationship with that agent.
Yes.
And the quality of lead that I'm getting from agents is the same or better. The off market leads, I mean, are the same or better than I was getting from direct mail and paper lead
Nice.
in Winston-Salem. And I'm not having any money into it. So
Yeah.
it's like, why would I not just continue to do this? And I'm all for allocating money back into marketing, but why not build this before I start spending a lot of money in marketing and really learn the market, meet all the buyers.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So I'm just doing that, keeping track of how many offers I make, how many calls I go through, how many agents I add to the database, and just keep it rolling.
Oh, I believe in you, man. I know that you're not going to stop until you make it happen. You're going to
Yeah.
keep those calls in, talking to agents. Um, Agents are a different type of. How are the conversation differences?
Uh,
Sellers, agents.
Agents are easy compared to sellers.
Okay.
You can just say, I mean, with a seller, if they're in foreclosure or, there's some family issue going on in the background, they're going to try to hide that from you for as long as possible. And even when they bring it up, you kind of gotta, walk around it the right way. It's a lot
Yeah.
more of an emotional decision. With an agent, it's just like, look, here's what this is worth fixed up. Here's what I'm seeing on repair values. Do you agree with me on all that? Okay. This is what I can offer. Does that make sense? And they're like, well, yeah, that does make sense, but all I can do is present it to the seller. And you can just straight up ask questions like, with a seller, you might not want to just say like, you know, why are you selling this right now? Or something like that. Or I don't know. You might not want to be too direct with some of your questions. With an
Yeah.
agent, you can just ask anything that's on your mind or
Yeah.
say
It's
it.
business to business, right? They have no emotion attached to it. They just want that commission.
Right. Exactly.
That's cool. That's cool. How do you like so far, the climate of conversations in Winston-Salem compared to Parkersburg?
It's a lot different. Like you said here, people aren't talking to, 5 cold callers a day. So when I'm talking to them on the phone or when I'm going to meet with them, I'm the only investor they're dealing with. They haven't been, led along by anyone else. They haven't went under contract with someone else that falls out. For the most part, there's some virtual stuff going on here now. Um, and also there's not like, with the lack of competition, it's not like they're like, hey, look, you're not the only mailer I got this month. And Winston-Salem, they're like, I've got 600 other people that mailed me this week. If you aren't giving me my price, I'm calling the next guy. In
Yeah.
West Virginia, you don't have that as much.
What do you prefer? Do you prefer more competition or do you prefer better conversations with the sellers, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's the way I see it is you kind of what you gain on one aspect of it is kind of what you're losing on the flip side. Like, sure, it's a lot easier to get a deal under contract here, in West Virginia, but it's a lot tougher to dispo it.
Yeah,
And Winston-Salem, it's a lot tougher to get a deal, but once you get a deal, that thing's flying off the shelf. There's, 50 buyers that want to buy it.
yeah. You said something earlier that I think we should just vibe with for a second. You said, how sellers like they want to hide stuff from you.
Yeah.
Like they don't want to tell you the whole story. Um,
Right.
and that leads to title issues.
Yeah.
How common are title issues for you in your business?
It feels like 50% of deals at least. It seems like every other deal, there's something that comes up.
How do you usually manage through these title issues?
Title issues are a great opportunity. One, if they disclose them. We're doing a deal right now that is like a weird foreclosure situation thing that if it all works out is going to be a huge deal. But two, I mean, it's one of the ways we provide, value to sellers. Like these sellers don't know how to solve their title issues. So if we are the people that can figure them out, look at that. So if we're, the people that can help them through that, that title issue, then we become more valuable to them and can take on things that maybe other investors aren't interested in looking at or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and really the biggest thing with title issues, like I don't know any, I've done deals and kind of learned how to solve title issues from that. The biggest thing is just have a good attorney and just call and be like, hey, here's what's going on. How do I fix this? If you have a creative attorney, he's just going to say, do X, Y, and Z. And if the seller trusts you and knows that you're not going to, take advantage of them or try to do something, you can just call the seller and say, look, here's the problem. Here's how we fix it. I'll handle everything. I just need you to do this one thing right here.
Awesome. Yeah, title issues are very common, and I wanted you to talk about it just so the viewers could, a lot of these people watching are just getting started, and they would not know what to do if a title issue arises. So, yeah, I think it's very important. I remember one time I had a deal in Ohio, and it took like a year for him to work it out. But one title company, we had to switch title companies because the one title company, it probably still wouldn't have been closed. But within
Yeah.
2 weeks, the other title company had everything ready to go. So that's really important. So it's good that you mentioned that. Uh,
Yeah.
so what are your goals for the rest of the, like, let's say by summertime, where do you plan to be in your business? What do you plan to be different?
Yeah, so I want to be focusing, I'm selling off. There's still deals here that I'm working on closing out, I have some under contract that I've already made promises to sellers, so of course following through with those, getting them all done. So get the deals that we're working on here off of my plate so I can just go all in on, Forsyth County, the Winston-Salem area in North Carolina, build a lot of relationships with as many agents as possible, and start building up that, that one knowledge base because you're looking at all these properties on market, you're making offers, you're comping, you're understanding what buyers are paying. And two, start building up those relationships, those opportunities to have, free deals coming in consistently every month so that I can start allocating, 30% of that into marketing, into niches in that area, and have enough consistency and understanding of the numbers to actually hire someone to help with those conversations.
Yeah, that's awesome. So why even go virtually to begin with, right? Is it because your market only has so much room to grow, or is it because you want to be able to have the freedom to be wherever you want and still have business going?
Yeah, to me, I felt like this, where I'm at locally, I don't think I can scale it very quickly. I mean, so in order to get like, let's say I want to build a business that's, we do 100 deals a year here or something like that, or that's netting me $1 million per year or something like that. To get to that level, it's really hard to consistently flip here because there's not a lot of contractors. So you have that struggle of finding good contractors for reasonable prices. There's a limited amount of volume. There's just only so many houses here, which makes it, difficult to generate enough leads to reach those numbers
Yeah.
consistently. Um, and then with just the kind of small town vibe, things move a lot slower here. So your cash conversion cycle is very delayed compared to, a market where there's multiple title companies that, your title search is back in 24 hours. You can get this closed in 7 days. I mean, good luck doing that, in West Virginia. I haven't met a title company that closes that quick yet.
Yeah, it's tough. So you're finding, elsewhere you believe that, you can just close faster, you can get your money back quicker, these assignments, everything will be smoother unless there's a title issue or something.
Yeah.
Buyers are more willing. I guess it's like the psychology of a buyer, right? In bigger places where there's more competition, they're wanting to move quicker because they don't want to lose out on the deal versus here they might feel comfortable and they want to close on their own time and whenever they're ready. Makes
Yeah. Yeah, and it's hard to have a real buyer's list here,
mm,
because basically your buyer pool is maybe, the guys that are doing the most of it are maybe flipping 5 to 10 houses a year here locally. So if they're in the middle of a project, they're not interested in seeing your deal. Even if it's, a great deal. I mean, I guess they maybe could offer you nothing for it. But in North Carolina, at least in Winston-Salem, there's so many flippers doing so much volume that they are always looking for deals. They're always funded. They can close as many deals as you bring them that meet their buy box, they'll close on them.
yeah, yeah, makes total sense.
Yeah.
So I know we're running out of time here, but I got a few more questions. So, you're doing the agent outreach 4 hours a day. Let's say during that 4 hours a day, how many offers do you believe you're giving out?
Yeah, minimum five. I can tell you real quick. Exactly. I'm thinking, let's see here. So, let's see. In 4 days this week, I made 25 offers. So,
Awesome.
yeah, just over
Out,
six.
so out of that 25 offers, have you had any good responses from any of them?
Yeah, yeah. I think one was a deal. And I wasn't 100% sure on it. So I called a flipper who had flipped it was a manufactured home. He flipped the one right next to it. And I called him, I said, "Hey man, this looks like a deal to me." I'm like, "I know you're actually flipping here right beside it." I'm like, "What are you seeing on this?" And he said, "Well, I'm a broker agent as well, so I can just get the lockbox code and go over there and check it out." And he did that last night. He never got back to me. The agent mentioned someone else set up a showing, so I'm thinking he might have just went direct to the agent and cut me out on this one. So
Yeah,
we'll
that sucks. It happens though, right?
yeah, how you learn.
Yeah, man. So what type of advice before we hop out of here? What can you leave people with? Let's say, I'm just getting started. No, let's say I'm not getting started. Let's say I've done a few deals and I'm in a small market and I want to advance. What type of advice could you give them? I know you're just getting started doing this, but from what you've learned so far, what's the best insight you can give?
Yeah, I mean, I think if I was going to go back and talk to myself, I think I would tell myself pick a market where if you're going to be a wholesaler, if you're going
Yeah,
to be a buyer, if you love construction, if you want to be involved in a bunch of flips, and you want to actually do the work yourself, maybe build out a crew that you manage, then being in a small market like West Virginia is, I mean, there's a lot of advantages to it. You can get
yeah,
deals for nothing. And if you're going in and doing the construction yourself and you're managing that team, you can make very good profits, flipping and selling here. But the advice I would give myself, pick a market with a lot of buyers, with a lot of activity, with a lot of population that's a growing population. Um, and just pick one avenue, like if it's direct to agent, if it's cold calling, I mean, whatever. I think start low cost. I don't think go put marketing on a credit card or take out debt to try to learn it. Pick one free or low cost strategy and just go as hard as you can at it, learn the market, make the mistakes, talk to the buyers, And then just allocate a percentage of the income you start earning into marketing and just grow organically that way.
Yeah, man. I think that's so good of advice because I know you and I both have been there where we went ahead and just put a bunch of marketing on a credit card and things didn't go our way. So now we're like, oh man, look what we did. You know?
Yeah,
Because this business can get very costly, especially when you're doing PPL and
yeah,
direct mail. And, it just, you want to keep the leads going. So you keep it going. But then I think what you're doing is the best way to do it. Agent outreach or cold calling direct to
yeah.
sellers. I feel like that's how you get started, with conversations.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I mean I like the things that I've liked about the agent method versus cold calling. One, you're building relationships that are going to be around for possibly years to come.
Yeah.
Two, you're looking at so much on market stuff. If you're newer to a market, you're seeing exactly what houses are selling for. You are comping, like I've comped, 30 some properties in the last week or whatever. So you're
Yeah.
just getting that market knowledge the whole time. Where cold calling, you're just talking to a seller, maybe you have five good conversations a day.
Yeah. That's awesome. So pretty much, I'm having a conversation with you. You're an agent. I give you an offer. I make that offer contingent on an inspection period, and that gives you the ability to have whoever you want go through it, right?
Yeah. So I mean, a lot of agents are used to wholesalers wasting their time.
Yeah.
So they'll be like, "Well, you need to walk this first," and I'll just say, "Look, we definitely want to walk it. I'll get someone right away, but I need to know if the seller is going to accept this price or not before we waste our time or resources coming to see it.
Yeah.
So here's what I can do. You tell me if the seller's at that price or close, then I'll have someone in right away. And then you
Okay.
just call your buyer if you got a couple preferred buyers, just have them go over and look at it, whatever."
Okay. So that sounds pretty good, man. It sounds like you got a good flow going, with these offers. I honestly, after talking with you, I'm definitely going to do some agent outreach, and not here locally, but
Yeah.
right now I'm calling in Mooresville, North
Where-
Carolina.
Okay. Where's that at?
That's outside of Charlotte, close to Lake Norman. Very, very, very nice area. But I'm calling for land, and I'm just calling direct to seller. And man, they are getting blown up. I
Yeah.
mean, this one lady told me she's getting like 100 people, and like usually I'm like, nah, that's a lie, but I kind of believe her. That she probably has had 100 calls. So yeah, man, I don't know. I think I'm going to try some agent outreach like you. I think that's good, a good way to be proactive. And you're giving so many offers, and you're learning that market, like you said, and
Right.
and you can ask that agent for their professional advice. So are you asking them to represent both of you, like both parties?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I make that very clear. For off market, I tell them, look, if you bring me something off market, I'll pay you up to a 10% commission. I'll pay it directly on my side as the buyer. On market stuff, I'm just asking them, okay, I'm unrepresented. I know there's new laws or whatever with the NAR settlement and all that. I say, so how are you wanting to handle the buyer side commission? Either one, we can just waive it, save your seller the money. Two, I'll just pay it directly on my side and you represent both sides. So what do you want to do? And
Yeah,
most of them want to get paid both sides, obviously, and that's why they want to present your offer.
yeah. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you, man. I hope to have you back on here, routinely. And I think that me and you, we might as well start a show together, Bobby.
I'm in. Let's do it.
Yeah, we might as well. I
Episode
think,
one right here.
yeah, for real. And then maybe we can get some other people involved and have a big group call. I think that would be really cool. I've been thinking about that.
That'd be
Uh,
awesome, man. I'd like to get, more people in West Virginia connected like that too.
yeah, that would be
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah. Well, all right, man. I know you got business to do. Have you already done your calls for today?
Not yet. No, I was dealing with, we had four closings this week. So there was all this crap, all the fun stuff that comes with that. I was trying to answer emails, get things over the finish line, all that stuff.
Yeah, I understand. Well, all right, man. So before we head off, how can people contact you? Let's say they got a deal for you in West Virginia and North Carolina. What's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, just call me 304-679-7527.
Oh man, you know that leads to a lot of calls, right?
I love it, man. Calls, texts, whatever.
Awesome. All right, Bobby. I appreciate you, man. You have a good one.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Travis.